Being natural means you're experimenting whether the consciousness exists or not. It's not easy to make any conclusion regarding this, and also there's a limit to saying that there is consciousness in the nature of the object. However, ignorance is relevant to all agonies of root, and also it is a cause for the continuum of the consciousness, and also being reborn as samsara. Therefore, consciousness does not have any beginning. If we say there is a consciousness, then this will lead to never-ending debate about only diverse of history. For example, if we say that we accept that there was consciousness in the inanimated object, then the biological result is not acceptable that we have right now. If you say this, then we can check, or we can see that there is a thing called body. Although it is made from relation, and sometimes they also disperse, but right now we can check that they have come in together. And also thoughts, they arise and they also tend to fade away from time to time. You can check that there's a being. The thing called consciousness, although the Dalai Lama has spoken about it in a very broad sense, there is consciousness that we know, that the consciousness that we gain from eyes, and also the consciousness that we can get from ears, and also the nose, and also the consciousness of taste. And also from the feeling we can know whether there is a wind. And when we through the collaborative senses altogether, we can also come up with another consciousness. And also from the brain, they can also from the brain they generalize the different consciousness gained, and they come up with a general consciousness. And if we say from the brain, when we say the person is unconscious, we say that although you can gather feelings through different body parts, you're not able to come up with a response because some part of your brain is malfunctioning. And there is a core consciousness that emphasizes on myself, the sense of I, and it edits all the consciousness that you have gained. It edits in a way that this is good for me and this is not good for me, and they also make difference, and they also differentiates. And from here, they also say that this is good for me. That's why this is preferable, and I should have it, and no one should take it away from me. And also, in the other way, that since this is bad for me, this should disappear, and this should be away from me. And this kind of differentiation also keeps occurring, and then you tend to see the world upside down.
사실은 그게 아님에도 불구하고 나는 이를테면 장미꽃이 보기 좋아라는 것은
You will see the world in a distorted view, and when you say, I like rose, I don't like rose, but it's your thought, it's not the rose that makes a difference.
그렇죠? 전부 다 그렇게 되게 돼 있는데 그래서 그렇게 생기 가지고 이게 계속 싫고 좋은 것에 의해서 관성이 붙어버리면
And if this continues, and
말하고 생각하고 하는 것이 전부 다 그 관성이 붙어버린다.
And if this keeps continuing, then you will have a characteristics built because of the habitual property that you have been inputting in the behavior, and in that way, there will be more things that you hate and will be liking, and in that way, the person might suffer from depression later, or the person will also have a very narrow-minded. And also, if you say that I like everything, then that also gives you a problem because your moods will always be high.
그래서 나를 갖다 결국은 고통으로 몰아넣을 수 있는 뭐 여러 가지 조건들이
And so, a lot of different conditions that makes I will be made. And throughout your life, if the things that you hate continues, then it becomes the power of your karma. We continue living like that. You think that's the way how a person lives, and you wonder why you suffer. It's the same thing. You are eating the poison, but you believe that you will not die. Sometimes we think when it does not suit our taste, then we hate it. And if you have the thought that you hate, if the sense of hatred grows, then everyone will eventually become your enemy, whether you're a husband, whether you're kids or grandchildren. So whether you like them or not, if these things keep repeating, then this will build up the habitual property, and when it becomes a lump, then this will become your karma, and this will provide the conditions for your samsara, for your next life. But here, what Dalai Lama wants to talk about, this thing called consciousness. The sixth consciousness and also the five general consciousness, whether do they exist as a fact. My thoughts, do they exist as a fact? Knowing after saying, you think that maybe there is something that doesn't change, and so you see, but it is not true. You see through your eyes, and from your brain, the body cell connected to the eye, it intakes that information just like the camera, just like the lens. This brain cell, that intakes information through your eyes is different from the brain cell that intakes information through your ears. The reason why I'm talking about this is because since they're different,
귀로 들어서 뭐가 보는 것이 또
There is something that
하나이고,
sees through the eye. There is a thing that smells through the nose, and also there's something that hears through your ears. That's what they saw. In the beginning, the Brahmins they thought that, and there's in the center of the head there's Atman, and through this you see everything, and you hear everything, and you feel everything. But then, if it's Atman that connects it all, then you should be able to see even without the eyes. So when you do the debate, then you argue. Without the eye, you should be able to see. They never thought that it's the eye that sees, but with the Atman, because of the Atman, you're able to see. And then when there was an argument about this, when someone said, then you should be able to see even with your eyes closed, and why are you not able to see? And then they said the Atman got divided, and also because it got divided, you could see with the eyes, nose, and all.
요게 서로 이연지어져서 우리가 알아채는 요것이 아니고 눈에 어떤 아트만이 자성이 있어가 보는 것이라고
But if we say it's the Atman that connects your body senses to see, then you should be able to see without light, without opening your eyes. There is a contradiction. So the thing that we see, we hear, and we speak, there is nothing eternal about this. Even the senses, whether we feel them, there is nothing that is eternal. And even the eyes that you see with, that is not eternal. Everything is changing. That's why when you say the consciousness, the sixth consciousness, there is no being of the sixth consciousness, but it is just a generalized sense of the five consciousness that we talked about before. You saw it, you felt it, you smelled it, and in the brain, although you felt it with through different body parts, it's all different apple. The apple that you saw with your eye, the apple that you touched, the apple that you tasted, it's all different, isn't it? The scent of the apple is not red. When you touched it, the skin was smooth. The smoothness is not apple. So you saw the red color with your eyes, you smelled with your nose, you tasted with your mouth, and also when you bite it, there is a sound. When you add all those five senses, then you can understand that you feel it differently in your brain. But then when you take them all together, when you put them together, then you are able to know that this is an apple. This is what we call law. Why do we call it law? It is to say because we understood the consciousness, we accepted the consciousness or the existence of it. When you saw the apple, did the apple go inside my head? When you smell the apple, it doesn't mean the apple went inside my head. Although we ate it, the apple went inside our stomach, but doesn't mean apple is in our head. And we are also unsure that if the apple is in our stomach. And so we have actually understood them or taken them in through different parts of our body with senses. And also, just because an apple is red doesn't mean everything red is an apple. Then even the sun is an apple, and then even those people who are wearing red color is also an apple. So we cannot say that everything that's red is an apple, and that's why the color of the apple, the feeling of the apple, the smell of the apple, the taste of apple, everything gathered together, we call that apple. So in a kindergarten, they make students gather, and then they color it red, and when they teach, what is this apple? This is not an apple. Because you teach the children in this way, that's why they only they have very restricted thoughts. For a child to know what is an apple, then they should taste, they should smell, and they should and they should know, and this should repeat 1,000 times, and after it gets stuck in your memory that this is an apple, then it's understandable. And then even if when he's passing through the apple farm, even though his eyes are closed, by the smell of it, he will know that this is an apple. It's abundant experience, and also 5 senses inside his brain work together. Children nowadays, they do not have much experience. That's why even when you had several very accidents, they were not aware how dangerous the situation is because they were not trained. You understand what I mean? That's why whether it's parents or adults, you have already made the causes for children to die, and you claim to sit and give them education. Those children who does not go to army or military, they have highest chance of dying when there's a war, because in military they teach you ways not to die when there's a war. That's why whether it's rich people or whether it's someone of a high status, they claim that they didn't send their sons to military, but there's nothing good about it, because who can guarantee that there will be no war after when you live for 60 to 80 years? For example, when Moon Se-kwang shot Park Jong-il president, when he first shot him in the theater, the first shot was not accurate, and when they heard the first shot, everyone reacted differently. The bodyguard, he ran to the stage when he heard, and the President Park, he hid in the podium, and the bodyguard, he shot him. He shot the shooter, but then he shot it. The shot wasn't accurate, and so the child who was singing the choir, that child died. But the first lady, when there were bullets flying around, she didn't know what to do. She just sat there and got shot because she was just sitting. If she tried to hit a little, if she just bent a little, then maybe she would not have been shot because a bullet shot her in the head. If she only went to military, then she might not have died. It's a little weird to make assumptions, but the world that we know or take into our consideration, if you don't experience it, then it doesn't work. So it should be in your it should be in your subconsciousness. We call that karma. So if you have a lot of good experiences, that makes your life better. But on the other hand, if you have a lot of bad experiences, and if you have a lot of bad experiences inherent in you, then it's inevitable that your life will head in a bad way, to the bad way. So if your mother and father is or cheaters, and if they are alcoholic, then the children are given no other choice rather than having an awful life. So whatever they think, they would think of it in a negative way. So the parents are not aware what kind of influence they have to the kids. You feel that the consciousness and also the karma is all different. They exist in a different world, but they see through the eyes, and through the eye senses, and also when the five senses they work together, then they make the thing called consciousness. There's nothing that exists separately. So when the consciousness is being aroused, you also feel that, oh, there is my body, my thoughts, I saw. The center becomes I. My thoughts, things which are delicious to me, and then you know how to differentiate, and from this point, you create the beings that you like or you hate, and this becomes a habit. It repeats. This habit repeats. Then the karma becomes stronger, and then whatever karma that is, it will get so strong that it will just lead to death. And the lump becomes bigger and stronger. This becomes karma, and this will become the main cause for you to decide your next life. So if you don't change for better this life, then your next life is not going to change. And if you don't change now, then going to heaven or hell after your death, everything is not possible. Even a person like Yu Bong-un, he already got, I heard he already got his redemption. Then he paid about, I heard that he got his redemption already. Then why is he running around? Is a place that he's hiding, is it the heaven? If he's being redempted, then why do they give him the suffering? If he got redempted already, then all his sins have disappeared already. That's a lie too. That is also cheating. He doesn't think of our citizens as horses on their chest. And he also doesn't consider our country as a country. When Dalai Lama was talking about this, the status of eight consciousness, or Alaya Vijnana, when he asked if this is a lump and if this exists as a lump, then it doesn't exist as a lump. For example, in electricity, whether they have plus or minus or neutral, they get their cause in an instant. this is in a form of energy, but you cannot say that they exist in a form of an object. But when you ask, is it void, then it is not so. If you say that's void, then that also means there is a phenomenon. Because there is also the energy phenomenon, we cannot call it it's void, but it is also not in a form of an object. So it is not an object, and it is also not an object. It is not an object, and it is also not an object. Although we say like this, the eighth consciousness, if you ask if there is something like this which has been outspoken, it is not so, but then it is also not possible to say it doesn't exist. Just like electricity, it is in the form of an energy. So next life, when you get your body, this enters as a energy form, and it wakes you up and disappears. When the energy makes a light, when the light exists, the energy disappears. So it is similar to this. So when you ask if this exists in reality, you cannot actually touch them just like this. But then if you ask if it's not there, it is also not there. But then when you speak about this, a lot of Korean monks and other people, they commonly say that this existed before our life was born, but that is all lie. How can it How can your heart be there before you are born? It is not so. The heart is made from the process of life. If you ask if the heart is hurt, there are some people who say so. Even in plants, they have hearts. If you sing them, they grow better. If you dance, they grow better. Then you should dance in front of the plant every day. If you say that if you give them music, then maybe because of the wave, the sound wave, they get affected. But I don't think they know what's a music. 송강가비 is a person who is a very famous Korean traditional singer, and she's a great singer, and she's also a disciple of a monk. When we say inhuman object, then it means although it is a living thing, we refer to those which the heart has not been formed. Things like trees, they don't have hearts. They are also living. So we say do not treat them in a harsh way, but that doesn't mean don't treat them harsh because they have heart. And then if you ask, do the stones also have hearts, or even the dust have heart, or even the rings that you are wearing now have hearts? If you ask a question, then everything that exists in this world has heart. And in here, when you say mankind, this mankind is same as che and means everything. and saying means life. So those things which is life or hurt. So if you talk about them in a biological way, then we refer to those who has the nervous sense. But the plants, they don't have nerves. And so they have the terminal for collecting all the energy. We call them living things. But we are not talking about those which doesn't have heart. So when your heart is being created or formed, if you talk about them in a rational way, and if you want to argue when they have been created, then actually there is the stage at the back of the evolution. That's what you have to think of it in that way. And so if you take the inanimated object as the beginning of the consciousness before the living things were created, then the biological consequence that we have now is not compatible. So you should not be confused. And when you look at things in a general way, then the cause and the consequence fall in the same category. When you study the cause and the consequence of the natural object, then the consequence generally has the same property as the natural cause. Even the consciousness follows the same mood. Each time the consciousness is being created in sequence in the same category. So your present consciousness also becomes a cause for your next consciousness. Like for example, if you have planted beans, then the sprout is being born, and when you have the beans, it is similar to the first bean that you have planted. There is a sense of continuity, but it's not the same because their conditions are different. Maybe the weather and also the water. There could be some changes made in the DNA. So although it is not the same, maybe 99.9% is similar because of the continuity. So something that is totally different from the first plant cannot be born. Even our consciousness. The thing that I am thinking now or speaking now also from here the continuity also begins. So my thought now becomes the cause for the next thought. So if you have the sense of parsimony, then you will not want to offer or make donations because a person has a sense of parsimony. At this time, maybe the sense of parsimony changes a little. When you see a beggar, then you might think that, oh, he has very healthy body. Why is he trying to beg? When the father asks for some money, the person will also say, you have a lot of money. When you are young, you spend money in a wrong way. So although you feel that two thoughts are different, they are actually in continuance to each other. Because we are sensitive, we see that when you see the beggar, and if you have the sense of parsimony looking at the beggar, then you feel that basically that person has a sense of parsimony, and so maybe that person will not treat the others in the same way. But if you say the person does well, that means the person is flattering the other because there's some benefit being given from the behavior. I'm looking at things this way. So there are times that I don't want to see general human beings because I feel so bad I hurt. How do you want me to leave? Why did you die? At times like that, I want to go and beat them. That's all coming out from your selfishness. You're only thinking about yourself. You should think about that person, how difficult the person is right now, and how difficult situation the person is right now. Instead, you just wonder about yourself. At times like that, sometimes I feel so bad, and so I tell them not to cry, and then they are like, you just tell me not to cry. Even when you're talking about useless things, at least you should be talking about something that's a little better. You should not do something that is so transparent that we can read through your hurt. And even the consciousness, they have the sense of continuity. When the person is compassionate, and if they feel that there is a stray cat, then if you have the kind of thought that, oh, what to do with the cat, then even when your mother is sick, then you are bound to think that what can you do for the mother. That happens because of the continuity of your consciousness. You understand what I mean? So I think Mr. Yu Bang-han will not commit suicide. I think it should be difficult for him to commit suicide. He's running away because he wants to survive. That's why he will not commit suicide. This thing called hurt, consciousness. The previous consciousness makes the consciousness that follows, and your consciousness develops, and even in your subconsciousness, there's something that is remembered in your memory, and through the memory, you're seeing the light, and when you're seeing the light, and if you see the suffering, then the consciousness that's been saved before, you see through the continuation from it. I feel sad when I see the flower. When my mother died, we made the coffin with the flower. If you have that thought deep in your subconsciousness, then you will feel sad when you see a flower. Because even if you are seeing the flower now, that is in continuance with your previous memory. So when you say, you have no idea how important it is to change the memory, or how important it is to change the thoughts. If you don't change this thought, then you will just continue repeating and living in the way that you have lived so far. Then the habits that you have lived through will give you the same condition even at the time of your death. You remember this accident in Changsung in the nursing home? Maybe the grandfather, about 70 years old, he burned the nursing home, and the reason for him to do that was, I think that's because of his life trauma, because he had been hurt so many times, and it was difficult for him to live there. He wanted to live his life his way, and that way he thinks that if he burns the whole place down, then he might be able to live better. And do you also remember the grandfather who burned the subway in Daegu? you remember the person who burned our Sungnemun? If you look at the past that they have lived through, then mostly there are those whose heart has been hurt so many times. Then even after they have grown older, they victimize themselves and they feel bad for everything. So if someone comes and tries to help him, he or she, they say why did you come? Did you come to steal something? You feel that the person has come to steal something from you. Not even once you have lived your life helping others, and you have never been helped before too. And so you assume that everyone is coming to hurt you. And the continuation of that thought, it puts you into more misery. It's almost like it's dragging you to the hell. That is not acceptable. So the thought that I have right now, so a person like Shantideva or Manjushri, when they have a thought, and when it's a wrong thought, they repent. Because that acts as the behavior that can put you into hell due to continuity. So our consciousness, you feel they're different. The thought that I had before and the thought that I have now, but they are all same, they are continuing. So when you do this kind of Buddhist practice, you should stop the bad thought and you should change it for better. Because if you change your thoughts for better, then your good thoughts will also continue. How good is that? So when you say, I am old, so I am finished now. Now I'm old and I don't have teeth anymore and my knee hurts all day. I have no appetite. If you keep continue thinking, because I am old, because I'm old, because I'm old, they ignore me. Because I'm old, they isolate me. Because I'm old, they don't listen to me. Because I'm old, I should die. It will continue. This word keeps spreading just like a spider web. We call that karma. So you should think good thoughts. That's why when I see the Tibetan old people, they seem very happy. Even if they have dementia, they say Om Mani Padme Hum. So even you people, when you gather somewhere, you say, this new bathhouse, they have clean water, and over there are many good people. Stop thinking about those when you gather. And also stop criticizing about others' flaws. If you keep doing that, then even if you get old, you will continue doing the same act. In the first, when I saw the sattva, she came with some lipstick, but it was very bad to look at. I think her hand shook a little, and so it seemed like she had eaten a rat, but she didn't finish cleaning the blood. On top of that, because she wore too much foundation, between her wrinkles, the makeup got stuck. and it looks like some cracks made from famine. And also she also looks like some kabuki makeup. I got headache when I saw her. And also just like the musical in China, her face changing, and I thought, why do we have to live masking ourselves? Why can't we just live in a natural way? If you lived in a compassionate way, then even your wrinkles will be compassionate. If you have done the other way, then you will have the wrinkles the other way. Don't you think so? So our karma, if you argue about it, it is a continuity of our consciousness that keeps getting passed down. So in our mantra, we also pray the awakened thought, but the awakened thought that we refer here is the compassion. The nature of all objects is avoidance. There's nothing to be attached. So if every thought of yours awaken the sense of bodhisattva, then you will not live your life any different from that of Buddha's life. There's no reason for you not to live like a Buddha. Buddha did not live his life in a weird way because his virtues were so great. Maybe for our opinion, it could look like the sun is even hidden. But that's all life of a man. If you have a compassionate thought, then you live like a Buddha. And if you have only thoughts of thieves, then you live like a thief. So the last line of third last lesson, each time the consciousness arises in sequence in the particular area. So thoughts get continued just like a panorama, but in reality, if you have a sense of parsimony all the time, and suddenly it doesn't end and begin without compassion again. If for someone was very stingy for all his life, and if he suddenly feels compassion, then he should prepare himself for funeral. That's almost like airplanes speeding at the speed of 800 kilometers and stopping in an instant and speeding backwards. They cannot do that. If it does, then it explodes. Even the cars, when you're running at 100 kilometers, and if you just put a brake, sudden brake, then about 80 meters you'll be speeding. Then only it will start stopping. So it's not possible, right? So even the consciousness is a sort of energy, so it cannot just stop at an instant. When you're running, we ask you to stop. You cannot just stop in an instant. So the consciousness now that we have becomes the cause of your consciousness next moment. If we talk about time, then my thoughts at this instant becomes the cause of my thought for the next thought. Have only dark thoughts, then the dark thoughts will continue and it will become a bad habit. For this reason, in Buddhist scripts, we say the heart that does not even have a beginning, the heart from the long ago, or also the beings without beginning, or we call these mankind. So when you say this, this thought has arisen because of the cause of the previous thought, and the previous thought arises because of the previous thought of the previous thought. But if you argue about this, then you will not know until where you have to begin. Where that has begun, if you believe in the theory of origin, then you believe that the God created this all. But although it looks easy and simple, that's all wrong answer. 3, 4, 12. But if the first grade from elementary school says 1, it's very easy. He doesn't know the maths. For him, it's very easy, but it's very difficult until we get the desired answer, 12. But if we talk about this in an easy way, and if we say, how was this baby born? If we try to explain in a biological way, that's also quite difficult. And also it's not 100% explainable with the biological reasons. Then when you talk about the samsara, how are the babies born? The babies are born because of the god of birth. It's very easy, but it's not an answer. If you say that's answer, that's not an answer. That's a problem. The hurt. And if you think about it, it begins from the thought, but it also begins from the thought of the previous thought. And one day, you might say that, but there was a beginning of this thought. But then when you talk about samsara, when it started this way, that's beginning, and there is the end. But if it begins like this, then where's the end and where's the beginning? It is a thought that continues repeatedly. In our thought, the karma arises, and if we do not stop it, then it will keep continuing until there is no end. You'll be born again next life, and you'll be born as a mother, you will have babies, and you will suffer while feeding them, and you will continue doing that, and again next life you will continue with the same act. You believe that that's your life, and you will just continue living it. And one of the child gives you a problem, and so next life this will continue. This will again continue the conversation of how many sons did you have, how many daughters did you have. My kid studies well. One of the minister in Seoul, although he was very intelligent, but his family life isn't very flattering. So no matter how intelligent you are, or how good your thoughts are, or what a photographic memory that you have, it's just a small condition for human's life. It doesn't give you happiness. So if you say my son is intelligent, that's why he got first. But there is not any better than picking up a stone.
문경에 가서 수석을 주면 차를 돈이라도 뭐 한 2억짜리 되든지 어찌든지 그렇게 되는데 이게 학교에서 요즘 우리 학교에서 수석이라는 것은 나는 그 믿을 수가 없어. 왜냐면 외워가지고 답 잘 내는 것이 그 수석이니까 인간이 됐고 말았고.
I don't really believe that topping in a class or in an institution nowadays is very important, because you memorize things and you just review whatever you have studied. But because you went to a good university and because you're busy, you can ignore your parents, and those who are even sent abroad to study, you isolate your parents. So for me, it's more important to be a good human being than top in the studies. So even before, even from the old times, they used to say that the children who used to stay beside the parents are those who are not really good or who has not been successful. That is not so. And even the trees, even the handsome or good trees, they were being cut down and they were used to build something else. But those who protect the mountain are those who are very ugly and who are very skinny. Even the children, if you have a good child, and if you say, I have 4 children, they have a doctorate degree in everything. One of them is a doctor, and the other one is this, and
그런 사람 치고서 부모 혼자서 밥도 못 끓여 먹고 그냥 혼자 있다가 독거노인으로 죽어야 되는 경우가 너무 허다.
there are a lot of cases that although the children are doing very well in their social status, their parents, they are not even able to eat well alone, and so they die alone. There are many cases like that. I don't think that's very helpful. So in the kitchen, when we make the child use the knife in the kitchen, we have to teach them very well, and also we have to give them the knife only at times when they know how to use it, and they do not have the when they know how to use it properly. But if you don't give them the knife in a proper way, then it's just that they will start hurting themselves. That's why we say the samsara does not have no beginning. Yu Byung-hun, he said the destiny of extinction has arrived. In the theory of origin, because there is the beginning, they believe in the end, but there is no end. You just repeat the samsara. The yesterday's life repeat today, and when you believe it's ending, it also repeats, just like the wheel of a squirrel. They believe that it will end one day, but it doesn't end. The life of a wheel goes round and round. The song.
그런 거 있죠. 그럼 누구 노래인가?
Everything in our life is round.
옛날부터 있었다 그러면 시작이 있었다라는 것을 갖다 얘기하는 게 기억난다. 그러니까 안 돼. 그러면 생명체가
If you say that the thing from in olden times, you say that it also believes that there is end
영원하다 그러면
because you believe that hurt is eternal.
죽지도 않고 그렇게 되겠네. 그러니까 지금 스님들이 마음
Then does it mean that the heart does not even die?
영원한 거고 이 생명이 태어나기 전부터
And you believe that everything is eternal and this began before the life began? If you say so, then it will become the theory of eternity.
외도야. 그러니까 마음이라는 것은
And that is a stepping aside from the origin.
하나이지 그 자체가 본래부터 갖고 있었던 것은 아니야.
Heart itself is also a part of a phenomenon, but it is not so that it was there from the beginning.
태어나서는
You will know even when you bring up the kids.
귀도 잘 안 들리고 그럴 때는 그 마음이라는 게 굉장히
Kids, when they cannot open their eyes well, and if they cannot hear well,
하는 것도 아주
they cannot even express themselves, and
그게 크지죠.
they.
그래서 이것도
But when they grow up, their ability to express themselves and understand grows, and that's why we know that there is no limit.
하는 것은 그런 지금
So when you say that it was there from before,
그렇게 얘기한 적이 없다 그 말이야.
it is incorrect as per the rationality. It has not been spoken in Buddhism.
그 돌고 돈다는 것은 끝이 없이 돌고 돈다는 얘기지.
So when you say it goes round and round, it means it goes round and round without end, but that does not mean that it was there from the beginning.
지금 이렇게 들으면서는 100% 이해가 잘 안 돼요. 그래서 이제 시간을 두고
You won't be able to understand 100% if you just listen to this like this. In this time, the all sentient being that has continued the circle of samsara in this text through so many different lives, you should know that they were our relatives.
태어나서 이렇게 그냥
When you say it's a straight line,
주변에
and if you believe that it began as a straight line and ends, then
상관이 없어요.
all the living things who are close to us, they have no relation.
태어나서 종말이 있고
If you say the straight line, I was born and there I die,
만나질 않는다.
then this straight line and the other straight line does not meet. This is just like a train rail.
비매하는 속에서 다시 이
Through your continuous samsara,
만났던 그 생명들을 또 거면서 다음 여기서 만나고
the life that you met in this life, you meet again here, you will continue meeting them.
이게 그 세상에서 삶을 영위하면서
Through so many different lives,
그래서
you will continue meeting them.
그러니까 우리가 차를 타고 부산을 갔다가 부산
You meet them through different experimenters, and when you take transportation, if you go to somewhere else,
또 처음 만나는 사람들도 있고
there are some people who departed from Busan and meet Seoul, and like this, your repeated life, the meeting and departing continues and accumulates. In here, once again, we have to remember the kindness for the all sentient beings. So, countless people that we meet right now, not only people but all living things,
이연 관계를 가졌던 사람들이에요. 완전히
are those that we met before doing our samsara, and we share some sort of relationship with them. They are never the beings that we had no absolute relation to.
우리가 알아야 된다. 그래서
We meet them repeatedly.
만났을 때 우리가 대충 보면
That's why when we meet them, there are times when you can sit and dine with them, when you can sit and drink some coffee or tea with them. There could be those who are very close to you and who are also your relatives. So in this, you should also remember that they are very kind to you, and whether it's directly or indirectly, they have been good to you. There are not so many people who have been harmful to you. So if you have the evil relation, there could be some relationships like that. But by human nature, there is not so many people who wants to do this kind of, who wants to build evil relation. But how are these evil relations formed? Due to my greed, due to my sense of discrimination, I differentiate which is good and which is not good, and the things that which I think is not beneficial to my thoughts, you deny them, you reject them, and because the sense of hate is being caused, becomes your enemy, and the person becomes enemy, and in your next life when you meet them again, this sort of relationship gets repeated. In this life, it's very clear just by seeing what our friends and our relatives do to us. They're trying to give us good things, and if so, they would have done the same in the previous life too. Even the strangers, through the basis of accumulating merits, they have unlimited value. Through the love and also compassion, you should know how to remember the all sentient beings who are so kind and who are so good to us. So even when you say strangers, and even if they are strange, the fact that you feel is strange means you met them before. There's nothing that's strange, or there's no one who is a stranger that without having met them. So even if you met them in a strange way, that person also shares a deep relationship with you. You should know this fact. So the compassion. If something like this becomes the basis, then everyone who is related to me, that have been your relatives for many lives, and these three relationships, whatever relation that we had with them, whether it is family, friends, or whether it is the relation of the doctrine, or whether it is a relation that you do not share any relation, even if it's those that you met them on the street, they all are sentient beings, or the beings. It's very important to have thought that you have deep relationship with them, even if they are those beings, and you want to help them to go lead a better life. And if you expand this thought, then that thought becomes a compassion. So, but if this is not possible, then the way to enlightenment is impossible. When you continue with this kind of practice, then the sense of bodhisattva arises naturally. But with the sense of bodhisattva, the expectation or your wish to save them from their suffering, but if it goes in a wrong way, then you believe that people like Yu Byung-won, they say, if you just believe in Jesus, you'll be saved. But that's a wrong thought. If you believe that you have to save all sentient beings from suffering, then It happens so that you understand that your power or your ability is too weak to save them from their suffering. Even when you have this very accident, our government and also our marine police, we understood that their ability to tackle the problem was too weak. Because when the ship was sinking, there's not much that they could do. Everyone, even you, or you just sat there watching TV and thought, what should we do? Whether it's you or whether it's me, did we have any ability to save them? Just like a movie Superman, if you have this supernatural power, if you save that, if you just carry the ship out of the water, like the movie that you see often, the ones wearing the American flags. I guess they're doing it to commercialize your ability, but we can understand that we do not have so much ability. Even you all, when there's someone who is dead beside you, when you pray that, when I tell you that since we cannot go just pray, but you tend to think, what's the use of my praying because my powers are so weak? Even that belief is very weak. At times like that, you should sit, and although we have not said so, but foolish people, they often think that they have achieved and they say many stupid things. That's why I don't say this. But when you pray, because the sayings of Buddha cannot be spoken here directly and you cannot hear them, you should believe that you should sit and convey the thoughts of Buddha which was written already to them. You should sit and you should concentrate and you should tell them. Doing that helps them. But if you do that way, then at times a person like Yu Byung-won might happen. That's why I don't say this. Then they will often say, what is the difference between Buddha and me? I'm scared that you'd say so. There are some people who say that. I've seen about 2 to 3 people who does that. When we say my powers are weak, when you understand that when our powers are weak, then you can try to strengthen your powers. That's why when you see people who are starving and who are starving to death, although it is not possible in this life, in next life, I will pray and I will do many virtuous acts, and next life I will save a lot of them from hunger. And when you offer to Buddha, or when you pray, or when you are building a statue, do not have a narrow thought. When you're offering this statue to Buddha through this merit, I will save, whether I share any relation with them or whether whoever they are, I will try to save all of them from starving. If you pray so, then even when you're having that statue, just a statue, you will get the energy. That we say so. There are some people
그 공양을 올리면서 뭐라 그러냐면 아이고 우리 애기 잘 되게 해주시오 그러면 복이 조금 밖에 안 돼요.
There are some people, even if we teach them different ways, they're not able to make so many benefits out of this. So, even when you're making offering, you pray for good luck of your children, then you will only get a little bit of luck. But in this life, it's just that you're close to them, but in the previous life, you're closer with someone else. So, while you're offering for this, but when you pray, you will get the power. Do you understand or not? Or do you agree with me or not?
그러니까 우리가 그 옛날에 그 부국사 석굴암진 김대성 있잖아요. 그것도
So even before 불국사,
부국사 뭐 종인가 만드는데 부당사성인가 만드는데
when they were building Punantamsong,
지나가면서
when the monk was passing by,
공양해서
and he recited,
소속으로 지나가.
offer 1 penny and then get thousands of penny back.
그냥 그 밭대기 하나 있던 그종 만드는데
And then
버리고 집에 와 보니까
he
밥그릇
offered his little field
녹여서 저종 만드는 데 주면 좋겠다고.
when they were making the bell. And so when he came back, he saw a little pot made of steel. So he went and he prayed that please save all sentient beings from hunger, and he died. And next life, he was burned in Kimulan minister, and I think that if you compare it to nowadays, he could be a minister of culture. He was born in that house, and he built Purguksa and also Dokuram with that power, with the power of a pot, the power of a steel pot. When he was offering, this is finally all problem of heart. If you have a big thought, then your thoughts become bigger. And if you think about it in a very narrow way, then it will become, it will just shrink. So even if we're paying 100 million, if you do not, and if you have the sense that of parsimony in your heart, then even if you paid a lot of money, it doesn't give you so much merits. Even when you're paying 1 penny, and if you pray that because I don't have so much money, I can only pay a penny, but I hope this becomes a power of the merit, and may it expand for the betterment of all sentient beings. So even in the way to Bodhisattva, there are so many different verses for offering. So when you're offering through your heart, there's no need to do it in other way. I'm offering every good mountain of the world, offering all the beautiful lotus blossoming in this world that does not even cost any money to you. When you're offering everything in this world, but some say amongst so many lotus that's blossoming in this pond, I will just pluck one and offer to you. That's very stingy. Then your heart, it does not broaden. Your heart will also narrow down. Even amongst the stingy people, it will just be mere dust. Just like all of you pretend not to know. So even when you're offering,
쳐도 좀 크게 쳐야 된다니까. 전에 내가 어떤 노름꾼한테
You should offer in a big way. Before I heard from someone,
아닙니다 그러더라고. 그건 뭔 소리야?
I heard from a gambler. He said you never win because you get the good cards. It's just that
그러죠. 그 단풍인가 뭐 풍이라 그러죠. 나는 그걸 잘 쳐야 되는 줄 알았어.
it's just that you need to bluff well. That means even if you get a very bad card, you should sit there and you should ban all those who has good cards. And in the end, you don't have to show them your card because they have all given up. But you don't show them their card and take all the money. So you pretend to have gotten the best card. When you gamble, you should do that and win the money. But later, he also got bankrupted. I think until that point it's right, but after that it is not correct. So when you do that, you understand that your ability is not enough, and you also understand that the road to real happiness is to become like a Buddha. And to become like Buddha, you have the sense of bodhisattva rising inside of you. That causes the sense of bodhisattva. Just with the thought that you become like a Buddha does not help you to become like Buddha. To help all sentient beings, my methods are too weak. For all sentient beings, I hope they desire to have a bigger thoughts, and I hope to be a better person. This kind of thought arises the sense of bodhisattva. Therefore, the practice for accumulating wisdom and also merit is not only for your benefit, but is also related to benefit of all sentient beings. So when you are practicing, the sense of practice is not only for yourself, but it is actually for all sentient beings. So the higher my practice goes, or higher my meditation deepens, even the sense or even the aspiration for the benefit of all sentient beings deepens. Therefore, in order to achieve the final aim, it begins with your act of treating all sentient beings with kindness. Here, the final motivation is becoming Buddha. So they say there is no other way other than helping or wishing for the best of all sentient beings. Just like Shantideva's the way to Bodhisattva, if you study this way, then this helps them to restore their sense of Buddhana inside of them, and they say it's nothing different from Buddha. Just like Shantideva spoke in the way to Bodhisattva, you're praying for all sentient beings. It's also for the benefit of all sentient beings, but by restoring Buddha's nature inside of you, it provides a platform or basis for all sentient beings. That's why we say watching out for all sentient beings and help them to achieve their dream to become a Buddha is the way to become Buddha. Without that, through the Korean Buddhism, if you say you gain enlightenment all of a sudden, and if you just pray for your luck, it does not give you the desired result. The all sentient beings, without not related to their intention, they give you limitless value and also help. think about it, when you are generous to other sentient beings, although you feel that you are losing and they're being benefited, it isn't so. Through them, your practice gains a bigger benefits.
낮으니까 내 걸 받고 받고 그러니까 내 걸 받았다 이렇게 생각하면 그거는 나의 아상이구나.
So to a beggar, when you're giving them some money,
아, 내가
if you believe that it's good for them because you're giving to them,
정말 내 욕심을 순간적으로 돈에 대한 애착을 갖다
if you believe that they are lucky because they have given money, that is your misunderstanding. It doesn't give you any help. On the other hand, you should believe that by giving them some money, you have been benefited by the beggar who has helped you achieve your dream. Sometimes you have to think nursing homes. I am in difficulty. It's always centered around I. I don't want to do this. I feel burdened. That's why it doesn't become any good luck for you or good virtue for you. Because of them, you are given the opportunity to gain virtues. If I can help them reduce their suffering in the face of death, it helps me greatly. You should think of it this way, but you think of it in an opposite way, but instead you say, because of them, if you feel difficulty, then it doesn't help you at all. Your act of volunteering in nursing homes. We should think of them in depth always. And without that, it is impossible to practice. Even when you're practicing the sense of tolerance, you should be able to see that the person who is giving you trouble is the one who is helping you to practice. If you think of it this way, then you'll be able to practice better. Even the incident that happened to this Mr. Jo, I believe that although there was some incident between them, we don't know what's between them, but the father should be able to have said, I am sorry because I was not able to take care of all your problems. Then only the practice of tolerance happens. When you ask, why did you fart? I didn't fart, the fart just came out. You shouldn't say this. It's you who farted. In this common world, the enemies are the cause of your suffering. But if you look, and we are bound to have the sense of evilness towards them. But if you look at it from other point of view, through the enemies, you can experiment. You can have the excellent experiment of controlling yourself, and this is the basic relationship that you share with them in the sense of tolerance. And through this relationship, with a proper understanding, you can reduce the anger and also hatred towards them. And also through these so many different opportunities, you have to get the maximum benefit of tolerance and also the benevolence. And in many different scripts, they also say, that's why in many scripts they say the enemies are your best teacher. And Also, the teacher of those lazy people are those laziness. Looking at those who are lazy and who only does the wrong deeds, you should not look up to them, but you should look at them as the mirror and say, oh, I should not be like them, and your act of studying gives you the benefit of the efforts. So while you are living in this world, if you don't experiment these things in depth, then you believe that there is something else called teacher, and you're bound to lose your opportunity. A teacher is when you have a teacher who teaches you the basis of these, and while you're living, each time you face the difficulty or the phenomenon, you should believe that there are teachers who strengthens your thoughts. I should tolerate this. He's someone who's giving me opportunity to develop my virtue. This way you will have a proper practice, or else there is no method for all sentient beings. Let's end.
이제